I think as we talk to investors around the world, the first one probably will be liquidity. Liquidity. The second major challenge from an issuer perspective is really the fear of giving up control. So a lot of people, culturally, a lot of people still do not fully understand the benefits of coming to the market. And then the third major challenge that we face, as you know, for any transaction to happen, you must have the buy side and the sell side, so working together. And for us, in order for the sell side, or rather the buy side investors, the individual investors, to really be active and participating, they must be knowledgeable about the markets. And so you must have very strong intermediaries, the broker-dealer community, the investment banks, and all of that. I think for most of the African exchanges, the intermediary community needs to step up their game and drive knowledge building across this growing middle class that Africa seems to be developing. The SME space is really a challenging one. I mean, we're doing quite a bit, actually. We rebranded market for SMEs. It's called ASEM. It's Alternative Securities Market. And we changed the listings requirements after doing a survey with market community to try to make it more attractive for companies, SMEs, to list. But what you really find is that around the world, most SME markets haven't really succeeded. And so we are currently doing another study to try to see what new things, what new ways can we really address from a structural perspective. So government policy, laws, regulations that will make it more attractive for companies, SMEs, to participate in the market. And we are engaging policymakers, we're engaging regulators, not only in the capital markets, but from other sectors like the pension regulator, for example. We're also very active in global setting to try to understand how to plug that $2 trillion financing gap that SMEs have globally. In Africa, it is $140 billion. On the platform of the World Economic Forum, I sit on the Global Agenda Council for the future of financing and capital. And we're working on 5 streams. The future of fintech. So how can you use fintech to finance SMEs? You know, today we talked about crowdfunding. That is something that we're looking at. Another one is the SME Hub, which is a G20-driven initiative. You have securitization, which you could say is a capital market solution, but from a debt angle. You also have the equity angle of it, creating SME funds and listing them on exchanges, and using these SME funds as a conduit to invest and buy equity in SMEs. And then the last piece of it is really supply chain financing. A lot of these SMEs, their working capital is only as good as the supply they've made you. So if you delay in paying for that, they can actually go out of business. So supply chain financing has become very big. Personally, I also sat on the Nigerian President's Council for MSME, trying to create a policy, a national policy for financing MSMEs. So there are so many dimensions to solving this problem, and we are exploring all of them, including partnerships with institutions such as the Bank of Industry in Nigeria. Okay, so if you take Africa as a region, I'm not aware of a Pan-African or a regional effort right now to harmonize rules across the entire continent. However, there are sub-regional efforts going on. In the West African region, you have the WACMIC, the West African Capital Market Integration Council. that has harmonized listing rules, has harmonized post-trade standards, and has also put in place minimum standards for intermediaries to operate. In the East African region, there's work that is being done there by the East African markets, and in the Southern African region, you also have some work going there under COSI, right? So those efforts are going on. What we are now working on is to partner as a SIA, African Securities Exchanges Association, to partner with the African Development Bank to fund a feasibility study for potential linkage between the major trading hubs in Africa. And under that study, we will be looking at harmonization of standards, rules, trading, and post-trade infrastructure. So, but that is still very early. It's early days, so I don't have much information on that.